Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Especialmente Normal International Edition. Today, our special guest is Kayla, and we have here the usual team: Filipa, me, Madalena, and Delma Santos also. Welcome, and thank you for coming to our crazy podcast.
Oh my gosh, I love crazy. I'm so excited.
Right.
Good.
Us too. Thank you.
So we will do a small introduction and then we'll continue with the conversation. So Kayla was born and raised in Hawaii, and she moved to New York by the age of 18 to follow her dreams to become a professional dancer. She started ballet training when she was only 3 years old, and by 19 she was touring the world as a dancer with the Broadway hit West Side Story. Over the years in the US, she performed in shows such as Evita, Chicago, and American in Paris. Despite her success, the journey wasn't always easy. And shortly after moving to New York, Kayla began to struggle with eating disorders.
Mhm.
An unexpected injury helped Kayla reorganize her priorities, which led her to the world of fitness, where she became a certified trainer and a nutrition health coach. So far, so good?
Yeah, you got it. You got it.
That's great.
Okay.
Great. So you've been dancing like your whole life.
Yeah.
How young were you when you decided I wanted to do it professionally? Oh, I want to be a professional dancer.
Yeah. I think I kind of always knew I wanted to be a performer. I started with only ballet when I was 3, and that was like strict ballet training. So I only did ballet up until about high school. And then I was getting tired of doing the Nutcracker every year. I was getting a little bored, and, I was just wanted something new, but I wasn't sure what it was. And I remember going to, sorry if you can hear sirens. I'm in New York City and you might hear some sirens.
Okay.
But I remember auditioning. I was like, I'm so sick of ballet. I think I'll audition for my high school's musical that year, which was The Sound of Music. And I was like, it'll probably be boring, but at least I'll still, be performing. And I auditioned and I was like, this is it. I love this theater stuff, whatever this is. I want all in. So from there, I shifted my focus from ballet into theater. And my grandparents, actually slightly before I started high school, my grandparents, I met them in New York because they live in the city. And they took me to see West Side Story on Broadway when I was 13. And I just remember I was like, that's what I want to do. Like there's something about theater where you can sing and dance and tell a story. And for me, specifically, West Side was the show that I saw that I was like, that's it. Whatever this is, I want to do it.
I want that. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
That's great. So what do you get from dancing that you cannot get from anything else?
That's a really good question. It's hard to describe. I think just because dancing, obviously, it's not just your body, but there's a lot of mental focus involved as well. And also, it really brings out like everything inside of you emotionally. So it's this whole kind of holistic process. I think whatever style of dance that you're doing, if you really love it, you give not only all of your physical abilities, but just all of yourself in general. And it's just so special to perform, and it's pretty, and it's hard to describe, but it's this feeling you just can't beat. It's incredible.
Happiness.
Yeah,
probably.
It's
the happiness that you
Yeah,
get inside
yeah.
of you. Okay, that's great. But you are from Hawaii.
Yep.
I don't know how to say it correctly. Sorry.
No, that's perfect. Yeah.
Good. But it's peaceful, gorgeous, I would guess, because I was never there, but I really want to go and relax. And you are close with nature and all that. But so how it was going from there to New York City? Like a big city, no nature.
Very different. Very different. So actually my mom was born and raised in New York. So I have family here. So I had been to New York like once a year, almost every year since I was a kid. So I knew what the city was like. I had kind of an idea, but and I always say this to people who are thinking about moving to New York, you never know what you're getting into until you actually move here. And then, you're kind of just thrown to the wolves and you figure out life, which is, it's scary, but it's also wonderful. And there's no other city like it in the world. But I feel so blessed to have the balance of where I was raised, which is like by the ocean. And I have so much family, my whole father's side is in Hawaii. And it's just such a place with like rich Polynesian culture and very relaxed and laid back. But I love my city life, which is go, 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 hustle, my career. So it's a really interesting balance, but I feel very blessed to have both of those in my life.
Yeah. That's nice also.
Yeah.
So, and you moved to New York, right? Did you move alone or you were with family, friends?
No, I
alone.
Moved, I think my mom flew with me here just to help me bring my stuff, if I remember correctly. But again, like with my family that lives here, I don't know if I could have moved here alone with no family. Like for me, family is everything. And I don't know what I would have done on the nights, where I couldn't go see my grandparents if I needed, I needed a home cooked meal and to see family. Because it's a tough city, especially with, pursuing a performing career here. But I know my family helped me move in, but I did move alone and I moved into an apartment with a girl that I didn't know and just started auditioning. And yeah, it was crazy, but it's crazy to think about now, but it's very fun and scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a good experience. In a new city, it sounds amazing.
Yes.
Either Hawaii life or New York City life.
Yeah, both.
Yeah, it sounds good. And did you have a plan? What were you doing at first? Just getting auditions and stuff?
When I first moved to New York, I had auditioned and gotten into this program called the Professional Semester at Broadway Dance Center, which is a huge dance school here. If you're a dancer in the city, most likely you've taken class there. So I did a 4-month program, which was basically, for me, that was kind of like my college, where it was basically 4 years of trying to learn what this industry is like, taking as many dance classes as I could, meeting different people, squished into 4 months. So it was this 4-month crazy program. And I mean, I had the time of my life. I'm living in New York City. I'm meeting different choreographers and people and learning, a little bit about the industry that I was getting into. So I did that for 4 months, signed with my talent agency, MSA, which I love them. I'm still with them today. They're amazing. And then right after that, so 4 months, I started auditioning, like with, just auditioning. And then very blessed to have like booked shows pretty much right away and then had worked consistently leading up to COVID. But yeah, I did that 4-month program first and then auditions for the shows. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So, and you've been also travel around the world, I will guess.
Yeah.
What country do you enjoy the most if you have to choose one?
I'll give you two.
Okay.
That's because our tour was my tour with West Side Story was 15 months. So we went everywhere, not Portugal, unfortunately, but I will visit one day. My two favorites, my number one favorite, and I'll tell you why, was New Zealand. And I think it was because for me, it's also, it's Polynesian, and I felt so close to home there, being from Hawaii, with like the people and just the energy and the environment. I was like, I could live there for sure. I loved New Zealand and the people. I just felt very close. It felt very close to home for me. New Zealand was wonderful. And second, I really loved Thailand. I had good, just all around food and the best. And the culture is just amazing. But we went to so many places. It's really crazy to think about. Yeah.
Okay. Your favorite ones are more like nature, like your hometown, let's say. That's nice.
Yeah.
Perfect. I really want to go to New Zealand too.
Yeah, Madalena was about to go to Australia when the COVID started. She was in India and she was about to go to Australia, and then
You'll
Yeah,
go.
and Thailand also. Yeah,
You will go.
yeah, we will
Yes.
go.
right. Yeah. So you already talked a little bit about your experience and how blessed you were to book the shows and to have all that learning and the 4 months compact learning and all of that. But then also there was the harder part, the most difficult part also. And at some point, I'm not sure if it was exactly like after you moved to New York or not, but at some point you started struggling with eating disorders.
Yeah.
Can you pinpoint where it started? Is it, or was it something that you just noticed much later, or do you know where it all started?
Yeah. So I had finished my 4-month program. So the program finished in December. I went home for Christmas for a couple weeks, and then I came back to New York, moved into a new apartment, and that was the start of my, audition season and starting to audition in the performance world. And it's really interesting because I noticed it not right when I came back, but maybe I was a month into auditioning. I don't know if I had booked anything yet, but it was my first winter experience because, growing up in Hawaii, it's very tropical. Winter is, it rains a little bit, but other than that, it's pretty, it's warm, it's beautiful, very blessed. Yeah. But winter hit me really hard, just transitioning to like freezing cold weather that I'd never experienced before for an extended period of time. And I was only auditioning. I didn't have a job, which I thought was ideal. But I think, even though auditions kept me really busy, I had so much time on my hands and I didn't have another purpose. So all of those things combined with winter and starting this new career, auditioning, not knowing what was next. I really just remember waking up one day and looking in the mirror, and I was like, ew, I don't remember what triggered it, but I just remember that one morning I took my, I tore myself apart in the mirror. And then from there, I started looking into low carb diet, just, low carb diets and all these things. And it kind of just spiraled out of control into this several year long disordered eating pattern where I was pretty underweight for most of it, lost my period for 3 years. And yeah, that's where it started. So when I was in my first audition season, and then lasted quite a few years after that.
But do you think that you were negatively impacted by the industry? Do you think that something that someone said at an audition, or you don't think it was necessarily that?
No, it's funny. I remember growing up in ballet, a very specific moment where I saw another girl and her hip bones were sticking out. And I was like, oh, I want that. I should be thin enough to where my hip bones, stuck out, or you could see my ribs, but it never affected me then. And I never felt pressure from the industry. It was more so, I think I had so much time on my hands. I was online a lot, and I would see maybe different YouTube videos or articles on what different people were eating, and oh, this person is so skinny, and it just really grabbed a hold of my mind, and then my mind just ran with it. But it was never, for me, it was never from the industry, which is interesting. For a lot of people it is.
Yeah, that's what I was asking, because I think that for some people that might be the pressure, or sometimes even if you might not get that feedback directly, but if you're not booking jobs or something, you might start thinking that it's because of that, even if it's not related at all.
Yeah, actually, I did. Now that you bring that up, while we were in rehearsals for West Side Story on tour, the director of our show came up to me and he was like, I was really restricting my calories. I was pretty underweight. I hadn't lost. Maybe that was the first month I lost my period as well. I'm not exactly sure, but I was really, really, really thin. And he told me, he said, you're very underweight. I like my dancers thin, but it's a little too much. Mm-hmm. And instead of, making me want to eat a little more and put some muscle on, I was like, yes, I'm thin enough for him to say that I'm almost too skinny. And so that's a specific comment I remember, which I haven't thought about in a while, but it's very interesting. the role the psyche plays in all of it. But I have a lot of friends that have been just ripped to shreds by comments made from different people about their bodies, and it's hard being a dancer because I think it's changed a lot, but there's still a long way to go with like just accepting everyone's bodies, and you don't have to be super thin to be talented, or you could be. It's so individual for everyone. But yeah,
but it's interesting that you're saying that, because I remember, I don't know if it was a book I was reading or something, but I remember reading somewhere that, for example, when dealing with someone that is struggling with anorexia, that you shouldn't tell them, even if you're trying to help, you shouldn't tell them that they look thin. You should maybe try more in the sense of maybe you don't look so healthy, because thin is the goal. So if you say that, people might celebrate it, like you were saying, instead of noticing that. Yeah. And so, but I read that the term is orthorexia, that you were doing. I had never heard that word before. Can you tell us what it is?
Yes. Yeah. So orthorexia, I guess to kind of put it in simple terms, it's healthy eating to a fault. So it's when you get too obsessed with eating health foods that it becomes an eating disorder, because you get so controlling over what you're eating, and you don't have the freedom to say, you know what, like tonight I'm going to buy some brownies and make them and just enjoy it. You start, and which was for me, you get so obsessed with eating healthy, and you're reading every label. And if something doesn't come from the right, perfect, organic farm, you're not eating it. So then you're not eating anything, because it's really hard to come by. And I can't tell you how many times I would like go out to restaurants or family dinners, and I would just run myself into this hole, because I'm like, nothing's healthy. What do I do if I eat this thing? Even if it's just for one meal, I'm like, I'm going to gain weight and it's going to be terrible and my life is going to be ruined. So it's overly obsessive healthy eating, which I think a lot of people don't understand, because it's like, oh, eating healthy, how could that be bad for you? But it gets so obsessive and controlling that it takes over your entire life, and it's very debilitating to deal with, because you can't just enjoy your life and go with the flow. You have to be very strict, which sucks, to put it plainly.
Yeah, like you said, it's almost impossible to reach it, even if you try really hard.
Yeah.
And so when did you realize, or that you admitted to yourself that you had a problem, that you had to change something? Was there a moment that it was clear for you that you had to change something? Or I don't know if it was, like, did you realize it on your own, or did someone help you get there?
I think, I'm trying to think. I do remember I was a year into tour and a year into not having my period. And I think was it maybe at the year mark or a little before, I started to get worried that not having my period would affect me having children in the future. I wasn't thinking about it, but I was like, what if not having a period is going to affect something in my, uterus and with my hormones, where I won't be able to like have children one day, or it'll mess things up permanently. And I started talking to my mom and just opening up, and that kind of started my healing journey. But for me, I think it was just a fear that I just wanted to enjoy life and not be so like sad. And I was so weak, like I wasn't working out because I didn't have the energy to, and I was miserable in the show and miserable traveling. And I didn't know what I needed, but I knew I needed to get healthy, and I needed to gain weight and get my period back. Getting my period back was my main thing that drove me to want to get healthy again. I knew for a long time I was really proud I didn't have my period, because I knew I was skinny enough to not have it. So people would, I remember someone in the show was like, a girl said to me, wow, like you don't have your period, like you're probably too thin and that's not good. And I was like, yeah, you're right. But inside I was like, yes, I know, like I'm skinny enough, thin enough to not have it. But I was miserable. Yeah, I was thin. I had no energy. I was moody and angry and sad all the time. I was always sick, and I was just like miserable. But I knew I wanted to get my period back, and the rest would follow. But it was a lot of mental, it was hard for sure.
Because also, especially in your case, doing the show and doing a lot of dancing, you burn a lot of calories, I imagine.
Yeah.
So not only because some people maybe they're not eating so much, but maybe they're not spending a lot of calories also. But I imagine that in your situation, you're not eating, but you're still spending a lot of
Yeah.
money. So,
Yeah, exactly.
so once you became aware of it, once you decided, okay, I want to get my period back, was it not easier maybe, but easy to start the healing process, or were there a lot of ups and downs and struggle and
The
figure out
hardest
what works?
just roller coaster up and down, just because it's really easy to get into a disordered eating pattern with restriction, controlling food, but it's really hard. It's 100 times as hard to come back out. And I didn't realize it at the time, but there's so much mental discipline you have to go through. And for me, pretty much now I can eat normally and not think about it and not feel guilt, or, here and then sometimes, but I can kind of wipe it away. But for, I would say 2 straight years, I would just, every time I would think about eating or want to eat something, I would have to discipline my mind to not take me to like, oh, you should not eat that because you're going to get belly fat, or, oh, whatever it was. But there's a mental discipline, not with controlling the food, but with disciplining myself to have the freedom with it. It was so hard, just because, also not only with eating, but I had such an obsession with looking at myself in the mirror and body dysmorphia and spending hours I like completely naked. I would take all my clothes off and just look at myself and just take everything and, point it out. And it was terrible. It was so hard to do, but it's easy to get into. It's really difficult. It's a lot of mental, you have to reverse everything that your mind started telling you. And it's a process for sure.
Yeah. And now you're very vocal on social media about encouraging people to eat and also like not using food, to use food and exercise in a healthy way. So not like I'm going to exercise because I ate this cookie or something like this.
Yeah.
So you're very, sometimes you just go online and you tell us to eat pizza or something like this.
Oh yeah. just eat and enjoy. And one of the things that I didn't realize that I missed so much was how food brings together community and family. And I missed so much of that for years. Maybe even in my recovery healing journey, when I was eating what everyone else was, but I was still, I was here and present, but my mind was like, you're going to get fat, you're going to get fat, you're going to get, just screaming at me, even though I was eating, with everyone else. And just the community part of it. And just like, and also for me going through my nutrition school and my personal training certification, learning about the science of the body and how you really need to eat to have energy. It doesn't work where you don't eat and you get to work out and it's this perfect life of being your ideal body weight and having energy. You have to eat to be healthy, especially for women to have your period. But no, I love sharing about it and just being honest and just eat. You just got to eat and enjoy your life. And yeah, it's hard to break down the strongholds and the control, but it's so worth it to go through the process.
And do you feel that eating disorders are still a taboo topic, or do you think people are more and more start talking about it?
I think people are more and more inclined to share about it. I think it's interesting because social media is a really big part of the reason why a lot of women and young girls especially get disordered eating and body issues. But there's also so many people now that I think are coming out of the other side and just eating and learning about just being strong in your body, whatever that looks. It doesn't have to mean you're thin. Everyone is so different, and just being strong. And I do think there's still more people that share the disillusionment, especially on Instagram, with like having the perfect model bikini body with whatever which doesn't exist. And I know from personal experience that, I could post a picture maybe I was at home at the beach and I'm really thin, but I don't have my period and I'm miserable. I'm getting so many likes and everyone says, oh, you look so great and you're at the beach and how wonderful. But if you could look into my brain during that picture, I hated myself and I hated my life, you know? So I can tell you from personal experience that it's not real what you see.
Yeah, we were talking when we were recording the episode with Beth, because social media has the thing that on one hand you can, even like with food, with exercise, whatever it is, on one hand it can work as like inspiration for other people, but at the other hand it can work as pressure. So it's like we have to be careful when we're going through it to be aware of this both things. Yeah.
We have to know how to balance everything on social media. It can be very dangerous, but it can also be a good help.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think Fee already mentioned this, but you were injured a while ago in your back. What happened?
Yeah. So, I was doing the show West Side Story, and I was a shark girl, and the shark girl track, which is just the part, you know, that the shark girls do throughout the show, there is a lot of back bendy moments. And prior to that happening, I always thought that strength training was very taboo for dancers. I didn't want to get bulky. I didn't want any muscle. I didn't want you to be able to see muscle tone like at all. So I really only danced and maybe did some yoga and Pilates, because that's what was taught to me growing up. Like, you don't do squats, you don't lift weights. Like, that's very, you don't do that because you're going to get bulky. So I was strong because I could dance and do the show well. I was my legs were powerful, but I wasn't really strong. Anyway, that being said, and it was probably because we traveled so much too, and we did so many shows per week. But I started feeling this pain in like the middle of my back. And it was actually my birthday weekend, my 20th birthday. It got really, really painful to do all of the back. We would do these big jumps at the end of our number America, where we like jump in the air and one leg kicks up and we have to like look at our foot and flip back. Which that's what did it for me, doing those. And so I threw my back out, basically, long story short. And I was out of the show for a bit, but I went back. But this pain, because I had to keep doing the show, you know, I can't, not doing it isn't an option. So my back would kill me every time I would arch. And that's what brought me into the fitness world, because I was like, I don't know what I need to do, but I think I need to strengthen my core. And now I know when I was doing those big jumps, I was not holding my core muscles in. I was just kind of like flopping and flying around, which is okay when you're young, and I'm still young, but as you get older, you can't really just throw yourself in half and expect to be okay. So huge blessing in disguise, because it brought about a really big passion for fitness and training. But I started with PT and yoga to learn what core strength meant, apart from doing crunches, because that's all I knew. And it's a lot more than that I know now. So
that injury, it's kind of positive because it made you discover the fitness world.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
And do you ever feel that people think that you can only do one thing? If you are a dancer, you should focus on that only, or do you think it's possible to do two things?
Good question. I for sure thought that. And of course, when I first moved to New York, I'm very young, really naive to the world. But I thought that if you were going to be a dancer and performer, you only did that. Like, if you were on Broadway, you're only doing that show, which is an hour and a half, 2 hours every night. And during the day, you were just to focus on your show and those 2 hours. And other than that, you're just resting and, just trying to make your show better. And I would hear about these people on Broadway and other shows that had day jobs. And I thought naively, I was like, well, they just not be very committed. Like, they just probably, they don't love it enough to just do that. And it was when I was on tour, when, of course, because we're traveling, all we're doing is maybe adventuring sometimes. We're in the hotel all day, kind of, for a lot of it, just waiting to do the show. And it just, for me, I needed another purpose, because that would just, having all that time just sitting adventuring sometimes. And yes, it was so great to travel, but it was very isolating. So when I first moved to New York, I for sure thought it was like dance or die. Like whatever you're doing, if it's theater, that's it. And it wasn't until I got back from tour, got this passion for like nutrition, like holistic nutrition and fitness, that I started to be okay with the fact that I could love other things, but that didn't mean that it took away from my love for dance and performing. So there's definitely room. And I think that especially through everything with COVID, that a lot of performers have been forced to find other things that they're passionate about, which although it's still tough, blessing in disguise for sure.
But do you still dance professionally?
Yeah, I mean, obviously not now, but once everything's back, I'll be auditioning and to see what. Yeah.
And how does becoming a personal trainer and learning more about the human body has helped your performance?
Oh my gosh, I was always I was a great dancer. Like we got that. I had the technique and I always loved to perform and put on a show. But I don't know if there was ever, especially in my upper body, there was ever any like power between the movements. Legs for sure. Growing up in ballet, you get strong legs when you're like 5 years old and they kind of stay with you. Not to the degree I have now because I've, been weight training, but it's just, when you have muscle, you can put so much more power and dynamics into your movement versus just doing what was given. I have so much more energy and I am just a lot more confident in my body's ability to do an audition that's, super long and the combination's really hard. But I love feeling training and relating to my dance has just made me feel very durable, like bulletproof. Like you can ask me to do anything with my body and I can deliver and be safe and do it very well. But I just love, and I never felt like this until I started training. I love to feel strong in my body and I could lift a weight and it just feels so good to feel strong in your body.
And now you are also a health coach, right?
Yeah.
What is your main goal as a coach?
Yeah, and it kind of, a lot of my private training clients, I end up, because we talk about food and nutrition, of course, so I kind of end up health coaching them as well. I just want people I only work with women. I just want people to be able to live their life and eat what they want and be happy in their body and feel strong and unstoppable with where they're at. My prayer for these women is just to not feel like you have to restrict yourself or control what you're eating or worry about what you look like to other people. And the process is different for everyone else, but a lot of the time it's always the same in that we have to let go of control, especially with food. I just want women to feel strong and not like you have to only eat plain lettuce for lunch to be healthy. It doesn't work like that. Health is so much more than what you put in your body. It's if you love your job, where are you living? Are you happy with your living situation? Do you have community? Community is huge for health. It's such a holistic thing, but I just want women to feel strong and be able to eat what they want and just feel unstoppable in their bodies. That's it.
So, and I think this goes a little bit into what you were just talking about, but a few months ago you became a trainer for The Limit Fit. How did you get involved in that project?
Oh, Miss Beth Nicely. I love that woman so much. I had known Beth for several years. And I had just come back from quarantine because I went to do quarantine at home in Hawaii for 6 months, which was lovely. Very happy. I'm very grateful I was able to quarantine there and was not stuck in my apartment with my boyfriend, whom I would have killed if we were here together, It's good to go home. Anyway, I had just come back to New York because COVID, it was still bad, but I just felt like I needed to come back and figure what my life was going to look like. I couldn't just stay home and I had to come check on my apartment. So I was back and Beth had reached out and just said, hey, I started this new company. if you want to watch some classes, it's called The Limit. And I know Crazy Beth. I've known her for a couple of years, and I knew what her philosophy was all about with fitness and training. And I had, like worked out with her before. But I said, sure, I'd love to, check it out. And I watched my first class over Zoom. She gave me the link and I was like, I have to do this. Like, this is it. This is what I want to do. And I just loved everything about it. And it's been a crazy ride with her. She's just growing this company with her and teaching, and, the physical side it's tough. It's not easy, but it's the most rewarding thing like I've ever done. And The Limit is my heart. I love it so much. There's nothing like it. And Felipe, I know you love it too.
I do. Which was very surprising for me. If there's like one thing that I never saw myself doing and even less enjoying, was dancing. So
it's hard. Dancing it's very vulnerable. A lot of people are scared to start because you don't want to look like dumb and you don't want to feel weird. Yeah. But if you just let yourself do it, and I think especially with The Limit, there is such a focus on it's not at all about what you look like. We really don't even address it, but it's just about like, what can you do? What are you capable of? And it's always more than you think.
Yeah. And I think it's a lot, well, it's definitely your energy and Beth's energy, but also like you were saying, the community, I think it's very big on The Limit too. And I think that makes people coming back week after week. I think that helps a lot.
It's so beautiful because everyone, there's people in Australia and like Portugal and Pakistan and all over the world. And I was actually just today when we ended Saturday Dance Party, I heard someone say, bye community, just like over the Zoom. And I was like, yeah, like bye community. See you guys, in the next class. It's so beautiful. And everyone is so just truly encouraging. It's very, very, very special.
Yeah. So for you, what has been the best part and maybe the most surprising thing about this journey with The Limit?
Yeah. The best part is seeing people get stronger. Because I can see, we can see it. Even over Zoom, seeing people try to do the burpees for the first time. And they've only been doing maybe jumping jacks, or they've been taking a lower option. We see all of that. And it's the most rewarding thing. And especially, I love that, although I know sometimes the mom's kids kind of ruin their workout when they come in, but I love that these children are seeing their moms work out and are like, oh, that's going to become a part of their life. It's so important, I think, for especially young girls to see their moms involved in something that's so healthy and joyful. And it's not about bikini body, this, lose weight, that. It's like, wow, my mom's a superhero. We had a client's son say that to her. She's like, Mom, you're a superhero. I love it. And I love seeing people surprise themselves and just get stronger than they ever thought we could be. And you said the most challenging?
The most surprising. It can be challenging too. That's a good one too. So,
surprising thing, I think, is where I keep surprising myself with how strong I am and with what my body is capable of. And I just can't, if you had asked me in high school or even 3 years ago, if I would be a trainer and want to run marathons and be doing tuck jumps and burpees and just doing all these things, I'd say you're psychotic. And I would, no, thank you very much. I can't believe just what my body is capable of doing. I surprise myself every class because sometimes how am I going to do this? I'm so tired. My body, I'm dead. And it's been a really interesting journey learning about the mental aspect of training, and especially, with what we do at The Limit, just the places what your mind says to you and how to push past it. And it's crazy. I can't, it's hard to talk about because I'm still learning, and I'm always surprised at what I'm doing. How did I do that? I don't know.
Good. But that's a good thing, because how do you keep challenging yourself without overdoing it? Because it's a tricky thing to know sometimes when to stop, when to get rest, but at the same time, not letting yourself be limited by, okay, I don't think I can do this. And sometimes it's just mental, it's not even physical. So how do you keep the balance?
I think for me, growing up as a dancer is the main reason why growing up as a dancer, I know my body so well, because you're raised just learning kind of how to talk with your body and learn when something feels right, and just knowing my body inside and out so well. I know, like in a class, when I need to pull back my energy, or I just know myself well enough, or when I can push. And I will say sometimes it is trial and error. Sometimes I'll think I'm okay and I push, and then I'm really, really dead. Luckily, I've never really had any serious injuries. My back was tough, but it wasn't anything that wasn't, fixed with like just core PT work. I've never broken bones or anything. But it is trial and error, and I just try to have a curious mind. And I learned from past experience of when I need to take it easy where I can, but also be at my best to teach and train others. I'll tell you, maintenance is huge. I eat so much, and I take recovery really seriously, and stretching, and I have all my like recovery tools all over my apartment. So whenever I need something, I can just reach and find, a foam roller or a ball or anything. But it's just learning. It's a part of the journey, like sometimes you'll push too much and you'll know it and you'll feel it. And then you just learn for next time. Yeah.
So if you had to complete the sentence, it means everything to me 3 times or with 3 things, what would you say?
Oh, interesting question. So three things following it means everything to me.
Yeah.
First I'll say it means everything to me to have the best supporting, most loving family. Family to me is everything. My family in Hawaii and my family here, that's my heartbeat. I love them so much. It means everything to me to be able to inspire others with fitness and my personal journey. I would go through it all again if I could help like one person, yeah. And it means everything to me just to be like have my period and be truly healthy and not fake Instagram healthy like I was before, like surface healthy, but really just feel good in my body and strong, and just have such a great community with the limit. And I could say it means everything to me for so many things, but family, helping other girls out there, and then just having my period back, because it was so scary not to and be in that place. But good to have it back and be strong. Yeah.
Good. Can you name 3 people that you look up to in a professional level that inspire you? Or
Beth Nicely. I love her so much. Do they have to be like dancer, performer, like anyone, I guess, in general?
Yeah.
I have to say my mom. She's such a warrior, and she's the best. She's just pushed me, but also been there when I needed her with my opening up about my body and everything. And I have to say, I know it's like also with the limit, but Sutton Foster, I have looked up to her since I was so small. I remember seeing her. I was in this little camp, Broadway. It's like a theater camp in New York City when I was like 10. And at the time she was in Anything Goes.
Yeah.
I remember going to see the show, and I was like, she's it. Like, I love her.
Goals.
Yeah, goals. And I've gotten to know her on like a more of a personal level through the limit, and she's just so kind, and I just so admire her work ethic and what she's done in theater and now in TV and film as well. So that those 3 women for me came to my mind.
Nice, thank you.
And what was the best advice you have ever gotten? It doesn't need to be from that people, but if it is,
just in
great.
general.
Yeah, in general.
Yeah. listen to your body. Your body will always know best. Even when you're going through eating and body things, it's really easy to feel like you think you know better than like the cravings your body is telling you. But your body's number one role is to keep you alive. It's always survival. And your body will not lie to you with what you need. And for so long, I pushed the cravings for like wanting to eat bread away for like half of an orange, you know, so dumb. Like, anyway, and for so long I didn't. And once I started, I was like, you just have to listen to your body. It will not fail you. Your body is never working against you, but it's always for you. Whatever signals it's giving you, it doesn't even have to be related to food and body. Just if it's to rest, listen to your body, you know?
That's a good advice. So, yeah, that's nice. So the world is crazy. We all know that. Apart from seeing your family and friends, what is the one thing you want to do when this is the new normal? When it's normal again? But yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what happens with the limit. You know, once we start teaching in-person classes, whatever that looks like. I can say that we'll never stop Zoom just because we have such a beautiful international, Felipa, we have such a beautiful, not only international, but even in the US, people that don't live in New York City stay on Zoom, but to see where the limit goes. I'm excited to see what happens with my dance career and see what opportunities are next. And those are my two big passions, and just keep living in the city. And I love my job. I love what I do. And I'm just excited to see what the future has with those two things.
So once this goes back to normal, also one good thing is that hopefully we can start traveling again. So what is your favorite spot or your favorite thing to do in New York City that you can recommend if someone is visiting?
Oh, good question. I mean,
apart from those obvious that everyone knows, but maybe
right. No, I won't give you something touristy to do. I would say the food, but we recently had indoor dining back, so if, you know, I'm able to go to restaurants again. I love to eat. I'm such a foodie, and the restaurant scene here is out of this world. In studio classes, of course, would be great, and being able to see Broadway shows again. Oh gosh. Really, for me, I just would love to, I cannot wait till the day we don't have to wear masks anymore. And it's just to see people. But New York specific, I have to keep it in the dance world with saying like taking in-person classes again, whether it's dance or fitness, like spin or dance cardio, whatever you're doing. And then being able to see shows because it's so special.
Good. Yeah. So I think you said before that when you were doing your tour, you did not come to Portugal, unfortunately. So you've never been here before, correct?
No, but I am Portuguese.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What?
I'm super mixed. So my mom, born and raised in New York, she's Italian and Russian and a little English, but Italian, Russian. And then my father is Hawaiian, Filipino, and Portuguese.
Yay!
So I do have blood.
Okay, so the question is, when are you coming? Come on.
I know. I will come. That's on my list to come visit. And especially, I mean, living in New York, it's not that far. You know, it's just, you know, it's easy. So
yeah, you're in the coast. So
it's on my list and I will let you know. I really wish we got to go there on tour, but now I'll just get to go on vacation one day.
Yeah, please come and we'll take care of everything and we'll show you around. So especially with the Portuguese, some Portuguese blood, you have to.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so we always have, ask our guests to leave a question to the next guest. So we're gonna give you now the guest question. So this has nothing to do with us, but the question is, everyone knows that they're very good at something, but they don't often have the chance to talk about that because they don't want to brag or something like this. So what would that be for you? The one thing that you're really good at that maybe you'd like to have more opportunity to talk about?
Interesting. Can you say the question one more time? That's interesting. Yeah. I'm thinking.
Yeah. So She said, everyone knows that they're good at something, but they don't often have the chance to talk about it because they don't want to brag. What would that be for you?
This might sound weird. I think I'm really good at encouraging people, but I don't want to be like, I'm so good at telling people they're great. It's kind of weird, but and I actually thought about, I realized this not a while ago, but I was talking to my boyfriend about it, and I said, I think I was put on this earth ultimately, to inspire, hopefully with dance and fitness and all these things. I think I was really put here to encourage people in whatever they're doing and be a cheerleader for them. Yeah. Is that weird?
No, that's a good one. It's a great one.
Good.
That's really, really good.
Yeah.
So another question regular here in our podcast is related to our name, a name that is Especialmente Normal, that you can translate for something like specially normal.
Yeah.
So what do you consider specially normal? Like that is normal for people, but for you it's normal and super special.
Honestly, being able, and I have to bring it back to this because it was such a big part of my life, being able to eat and not worry about anything, just eat and enjoy life, which seems so normal for people who haven't gone through eating issues. It's like, how, I just eat. But I really never take a meal for granted because it was so hard for so long, and it did such a number on my mind and my body. But every time I'm with like family at a family party or at a holiday event where there's food and it's super, fun and delicious, I never take it for granted, like that I'm able to just eat and enjoy and not worry about my body or have, like guilt. And that makes me not eat the next day because I'm so guilty. I never, ever take that for granted, ever. Yeah.
So for the next one, and this is the one that we told you in advance, but what question does no one ever ask you and you wish someone would?
Okay, I have to be honest. I thought about, since you told me about this, which was maybe a month ago, maybe a little after.
Something like this.
I have no idea. I was thinking, I tried so hard, and I was trying to look up answers on the internet, like what's something, just to like steal something. I don't have anything for you, and I'm not going to try and fake it.
Yeah, no, if you don't have, that's good. That maybe means that you have a chance to always talk about everything you want. So that's great.
And I was actually thinking about that. And I talked about it with Beth because.
Yeah, because I think she also didn't have an answer.
Yeah, it was just, we're both very open people in general. Being performers, like artists just kind of share everything, and we're open books in general. And but being a trainer and spending so much time one-on-one with people, and it can be really vulnerable at times, like with training and coaching and everything. I'll talk about anything. Like you guys, obviously, I've talked about my period so much on this show, and I'll tell anyone on the street if they were to ask me, I'd be really open. And I'm kind of an open book, and I don't hide, try not to hide anything.
Good.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's perfect. So Kayla, thank you very much for not only for coming, but also because you talked about a lot about very personal things and struggles, and we do appreciate, because we created this podcast so that we can share stories of people that, for two reasons. One, to celebrate the people that we believe that are special, but also to share their stories so that hopefully they can get to more people. But we always try to, if there's like a specific topic that maybe someone is struggling with, we try to raise awareness for that. So, but we need people like you that are open and willing to come and talk about those issues. So,
for sure. Thank you for having me.
Very much.
So fun.
We'll be waiting for your visit to Portugal.
Yes.
Possible. And yes, and for everyone that will be watching and listening, we'll see you in the next one.
Thank you. Bye.